Next thing I wanted to talk about is the Batman Arkham Knight video game.
Yeah.
There was a trailer released fairly recently where it got into some of the characters we're going to see. Harley Quinn, Two-Face, Scarecrow.
Yeah.
And the Arkham Knight, of course.
Yeah.
There's some others in there, but they're escaping me right now. But it's a very darker Gotham that we're seeing in these previews.
Well, that's, I think, how Gotham is supposed to be portrayed, though. You know, and that's kind of the challenge for doing Batman, is how dark do you go?
Yes. How dark do you go?
Yeah, because
while still making it like so that kids can still play and not like go home forever scarred with nightmares and stuff.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's definitely some people who have taken Batman, and they're well known for writing Batman even darker than he's been before. You know, like Alan Moore and Frank Miller. When they took on Batman, they really skipped all the campy aspects of him, which was super prevalent.
Yeah, they went very much against the status quo as far as Batman was, because that was the time of the Batman Adam West TV show.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was Batman in the public's view.
Yeah, exactly, in the public's view, for sure. Yeah, and you've seen it in the movies and in the video games and even in the comics, that it just keeps getting darker and darker and darker. And you wonder how far they're going to be able to really go, or if they've kind of reached their limit here with how brutally dark Batman can become. Because this last run of the Joker, I mean, like,
yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
But they seem to want to go that next step, because this game, unlike its predecessors, will be rated M instead of rated teen.
Oh, that means, yeah, that there's definitely probably going to be some stuff in the cutscenes that is just super dark.
Yeah.
Batman level dark. Yeah. You think they're ever going to make a rated R Batman movie?
No.
Neither do I.
There's no way. If they can't make Deadpool rated R, they're not going to make Batman rated R. I agree. It's so much money that they're missing out on in that teen crowd. Missing out, but
I think it's silly. Well, maybe we will eventually. You know, maybe those standards will change. I really think they will as time goes on here in this country. Because, I mean, you think about it, like, I would be willing to bet you that the average 12-year-old American boy has seen just as much naked lady parts as an 80-year-old American man. Okay, like, that's where we're at. So the level of acceptable violence and that kind of stuff that we see on TV and in video games, I think the standards will shift.
You think it'll get more intense so that the game makers have, like, more to play with, you think?
Yeah, I think it'll become more acceptable. I mean, the people who have that argument that videos or TV or movies incite violent behavior, that if you play a violent video game, then you're going to think, oh, it's okay to go out and shoot up a crowd of people. That is, like, such a stupid jump of logic. It's ridiculous. It's so dumb. Like, are you ignoring all the past human history and stories? You know how fucking violent and brutally weird stories have been? You know, just look at some of the Greek mythology or Norse mythology. You know, that's just nuts. Or even some of the stuff in Shakespeare. It's pretty wacky and brutal. You know, do you think people went out and started... And that didn't... Like, we're all still here. So, you know, it's clearly not a factor, you know? And most people, I'm not sure what the percentage is, but I think it's the vast, vast majority, can distinguish the difference between fiction and reality. Yeah.
And while it's a stupid argument that violent video games lead to violence,
yes,
it is one that it presents a major problem in the video game industry. That was an issue that was taken to Congress. It's an issue that
They've done it with movies and stuff before. They've done it with rap music.
Yeah, GTA, the series, actually, has been involved in a lot of these lawsuits and law changes.
People used to freak out about rock and roll and Elvis shaking his hips on the stage.
Because it was provocative.
And it was make that our provocative.
Children evil or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, this is along the same lines of arguments of the whole we should not let gays be married because it's gonna ruin the sanctity of marriage or ruin it for my kids or something. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Just that jump in logic.
It's a ridiculous jump in logic. Like, I mean, how would somebody else's interest affect you? Or your family in that way? That's very silly.
I don't know. People, it seems to be they get scared when this kind of thing comes up, and they tend to shirk responsibility. A lot of what the arguments I've seen come from people that let their kids play video games or watch TV for hours and hours a day, and I think that's really the issue more than what they're watching. It's the fact that they're being put in front of these things and not given any real parental contact or guidance in these issues. So I'll give it unmonitored. These things can be an issue. If you give your 7-year-old kid GTA 5 and say go nuts, then leave for Barbados for a week,
that's very
it's going to be a problem. But if you present them these mature topics in a controlled setting that you are monitoring, then they'll be fine.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a fine line to walk, because, and I'm not a parent, so I can't really speak for raising a kid, but we live in a day and age where if you try and censor your child's view of the world, you're going to ultimately fail. And you're going to be looked at as like Kim Jong-un. Because just so it's more, and I think it's better, and we see that. We see how misinformation campaigns ultimately fail. That's why reefer madness is such a joke now. It's ridiculous, but people back then took that shit seriously. They thought that's what would happen. It's so much harder to lie, and it's so much harder to keep anybody from viewing, if they're curious about a subject, from getting information about it. It's just so easy. The access is out there now. So I think it's real important that parents educate their children on what they're seeing and what they're watching. And I don't think 6-year-olds should be playing GTA 5 or whatever, but I don't think they should be completely sheltered from violence or from sex either.
Yes, I would agree with that. It's all about just moderation.
Really. Exactly. Or understanding what's appropriate. And that of course very much depends from society to society. Mm-hmm. But it's that's just the better way to do it, really. I think
it's a
prohibitions
topic.
Don't work. They don't work on anything. You're trying prohibition on violence in video games or rap music or alcohol or marijuana. It's never worked. So. Just let people have what they want to have.
Have what they want to have, but while at the same time kind of garnering that respect for what they have.
Sure. Yeah, and this is interesting because I don't really enjoy or watch a lot of movies about combat and war and stuff like that. Like, I never watched American Sniper or Hurt Locker or any of that crap because I used to be a soldier, right? Mm-hmm. And so I take issue with movies like that glorify violence, very much real world violence, and don't kind of show the side effects of such things. So So I do wish that they would incorporate that more often. That, like, look, I mean, if you act in this very violent behavior, then you're going to be a pretty jacked up individual. You're not going to have a happy life.
You cannot go around doing these things that you do in these free worlds and do it without consequence. Not just like, oh, you're going to get arrested, or oh, things are going to happen to you physically. It's just that other side where you aren't the same person.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be pretty interesting. I mean, I don't know. They might have already done this because I only watched, I think, the first Expendables. But, just a stupid popcorn movie like that where, like, yeah, the guy's pretty fucked up, he can't sleep at night because he's killed 100 people, and some of them, maybe he questions, whether it was the right decision or not. Or maybe he's just a sociopath, so... I liked Dexter, though. That was fun.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong, but, they straight up, this guy's a psychopath.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's why he sleeps at night with what he does. Like, I get it, okay.
There was, at some point was a conversation about Arkham Knight, but, oh well, it's...
Well, we were talking about how, the mature rating. And
the mature rating.
Everything like that. And even with, going back to with Deadpool and the PG-13, why just make it an R? Maybe they will after they see how well Netflix does. And if Netflix, Netflix and the Daredevil.
And the Daredevil, yes.
Yeah. Because, I mean, if they do that brutally well in that Netflix style that they've done some of their other shows, then maybe Marvel might think about doing it as an R. What was the Deadpool video game?
The Deadpool video game was mature.
Okay, 100%,
yeah. Because there was
real well.
Blood, gore, just everything.
Yeah.
So.
And I bet tens of thousands of kids played that game.
Oh, yeah. And with kind of what we were talking about, the Arkham Knight, you see in comics sometimes that Batman talks about plunging into the darkness with these criminals and coming back out. Maybe with that mature rating we can talk about that more. Something that we don't see in these video games that are just like beat up all the bad guys, then go off to your next thing where you beat up all the bad guys. Maybe they talk about, hey, there's a reason I wear black. There's a reason I do this tonight. There's a reason I'm not a cop.
Because that's been addressed in comics.
It's been addressed in comics several times by several great authors, but it hasn't been addressed in the games. It's been touched on in the movies with, especially the second one where
that's true.
He's dealing with Two-Face, who kind of went into that abyss, then went the other way.
Yeah,
and also the Joker, who's the epitome of that abyss.
Yeah, that's just fantastic. I mean, that'd be awesome if they do that. I would love to see a very well done live action film version of some of the great Batman stories. Even the current run with Scott Snyder, but like just as a short, like The Killing Joke would be awesome to see. Yeah, that'd be crazy. Would be, like a modern version of that. That'd be it's not long enough to be a movie, but it could be like about a 45-minute, half-hour kind of just Batman thing.
You could probably do a made-for-TV movie.
Maybe, yeah, or a video game even.
Yeah, but if you haven't read that, people at home, wherever you're listening to this, pick up Alan Moore's The Killing Joke. It is
some of the Joker at his best.
It's the Joker at his best. It's the quintessential Batman story, I'll even say. Or at least one of them, but
it's a very important Batman story. Yeah, there's a panel in one of the last pages, one of the last panels, where there's a lot of controversy about it, and because of the title, The Killing Joke.
We gonna talk about that?
If we want to,
all right. So the controversy around it is in, I think it's the very last panel of The Killing Joke. The Joker has told some joke or something, and Batman starts to laugh at it. And as it goes, you don't see either of them on screen. It's
It's like a shadow of a puddle.
Yeah, shadow of a puddle. There's like 9 panels on the page, and you see someone's blood coming out. You assume it's Batman's, I think, at that point. Because he's been wounded in the previous fights and stuff. But in the very last panel, the Joker stops laughing.
Yeah, the laughing stops. And the last scene you see with Batman and the Joker, the Batman has his arm, like his hand kind of on the back of the Joker's neck.
Brace to, like, break it, almost.
Yeah, so a lot of people think that Batman realized the joke of the Joker, kills him at that moment, and that's why the Joker stops laughing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the killing joke.
Yeah, and with Alan Moore, I wouldn't be surprised at it. Alan Moore is obviously the creator of Watchmen, a very dark comic, a very...
Alan Moore's very well known for taking campy comics. He's really one of the first, if not the first, to take this campy superhero story and apply real world thought behind it. Mm-hmm. That someone who does this kind of stuff is going to end up pretty messed up. Like the Comedian in Watchmen, or Ozymandias, or Miracle Man. That's another great run, that if you want to read something like Alan Moore. And he's done some really cool stuff with, like, he did V for Vendetta, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, so all sorts of big titles are attributed to his name. And I really think that with this Killing Joke run that he did, he very subtly broached the subject that a lot of people talk about now, that Batman, you're kind of an asshole for not killing off these villains when you've had the chance. Yes. Which, that's a big subject.
It is a big subject. It's been addressed throughout the years, most recently in Injustice Gods Among Us, which spawned a video game after it and a comic book series which is still running. Mm-hmm. I would highly, highly suggest getting at least the first 2 trades, which encompass the first year of this. But essentially the story is the Joker finally sets off this nuclear bomb in Metropolis. Yeah. Kills a ton of people, like all of Metropolis, including Lois Lane in it. And, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah. Leave it at that.
Joker starts messing with Superman. Superman doesn't take it too well.
Joker, he does what he does to Batman all the time, which is he tries to cut to his very soul, the thing that makes him a human. Yeah. And he tears that away. Yeah. But this time he tears it away from Superman. Yeah. And
Superman's just not smart enough to figure it out.
Yeah, he doesn't figure it out until it's too late, and he snaps. Like, his humanity's been taken away from him. Yeah. He snaps, and he kills the Joker.
Yeah. And he tries to rule the world.
He kills... Well, that's all later, but in that, he has a conversation with Batman. He says, you let this monster out of... Like, you sent him to prison. What's prison gonna do? He's shown that he could break out of there 1,000,000 times over. You let this monster live. How you are responsible as much as anyone for this.
Yeah. I mean, this subject's also been brought up a lot in... what was it? Return of the Red Hood or the Red Hood something?
Yes. There's a comic and a movie based off of it. Yeah. Based off of Jason Todd, the second Robin, who was killed by the Joker, then brought back by the Lazarus Pit. The movie is Under the Red Hood.
Under the Red Hood.
Under the Red Hood. That's the name of the comic as well. I think, it's also the comic as well. Yeah. I would highly suggest the movie. Yeah. I loved it.
And he's really pissed off. He's like, look, the Joker killed me, and he's still alive, asshole. He's killed a lot of people since then. Yeah. What the hell, Batman?
In that movie, in that scene, he says, like, I don't care about Scarecrow or Ivy or Clayface or anyone. Why did you let him live? He has shown that he has no remorse. He's shown that he's a complete sociopath. Why is he still alive?
Or if not, alive, just, fucking crippled beyond repair, man. Why didn't you just leave him as a paraplegic, Batman? I mean, really.
Do something more than
I
your...
agree. That's one of the things about the Batman character that I kind of take issue with, that he causes as many problems as he solves.
And they do that to keep selling issues, because if he kills the Joker, who's he going to fight next month?
Well, spoiler alert, but Scott Snyder's recent run of Batman, I think this story arc is called Endgame, for all of you out there. He really kind of is also addressing this subject and the Joker. And the Joker may be a lot more than what we thought he was. Scott Snyder may be taking the Joker character to a completely different direction than we ever considered, which is very cool.
Yeah, and I would trust Scott Snyder with it. He's written the Batman series since the reboot of the universe, and honestly, he's done a great job. He's done a Joker story with Death of the Family, as opposed to the older one where Jason Todd dies, which is Death in the Family. Kind of confusing, but great story involving the Joker, and just how crazy he is, thinking that kind of, we keep doing this, you keep letting me live because we need each other. You are our king. Referring to all the superheroes. You are our king. I am your jester, and all these people make up your court. We are here because of you. And it went to this very dark psychological place in it, and that's what I want to see in this video game. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It might be that. I think it's probably rated M because of violence, not because of deep psychological twisted issues.